we've had a society over the last 20 years that's pushed, or 30 years that's just pushed um, college education, right? They put, you'll be nothing unless you get a college degree. You can only be successful if you have a college degree, and what's happened is you have this plethora of college graduates that now work at Starbucks as a barista and have been taught that a dirty job is not a successful job. It's not, you can't be successful in it. But some of the wealthiest guys I know are certified plumbers, right? Master
Hmm.
plumbers or master electricians that have gone out there, learned their trade, and started their own business. Um, I've got a friend that's gone through Rise Up Kings that's an HVAC guy, and he went and got his HVAC tech license, and he's killing it. He's doing a phenomenal job, and no college education. And so I think that society as a whole is starting to recognize that the college education is not necessarily, does not equal success.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Builder's Bible. I'm joined by a friend of mine, Corey Caughron, who is also a member of the Rise Up Kings community. Corey has been a part of multiple different companies, somehow revolving around construction, in and out of construction type things. His wheels are turning. He's a business guy. He's helped scale companies. And Corey, you probably don't know this. You're my second guest on my new podcast, The Builder's Bible. So thank you for joining me. Corey, thanks for joining us today. My first question is always the same. Tell us who you are and how you got to where we are today.
Well, Corey Caughron from DFW area, Dallas Fort Worth, for those that don't know what the acronym is. I got started in civil engineering, did civil engineering for about 10 years. I'm not a degreed engineer, so I was kind of capped out as far as I could go in the engineering world without going back to school. Decided in 2008, what a wonderful time to decide that, right? To switch careers and move to the construction side, and moved into civil construction, doing underground utilities, and eventually with the company doing excavation. Eventually became a partner in a company doing excavation and utilities, and was there for the last 12 years. While there, we started 4 other businesses, one doing concrete structures that supplemented the utility company. Started a paving company which does site concrete work for the civil side of things. The idea was we could come in for our clients and do the full civil package. We could do excavation, utilities, and all their concrete paving for the project. And then a little less than a year ago, we started a masonry company. But about 6 months ago, I started the process to exit all of those companies, take some time off, spend some time with my kids that I wasn't getting to spend time with, and we'll see what happens next. I'm sure I'll probably start another business.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you're a serial guy. I can tell. You're very enterprising. I can tell from our initial preliminary conversations. And we're anyway. We'll dive into that next. But okay, so construction industry. I told you this. I don't know. I'm a financial advisor by trade, but all of a sudden through Rise Up Kings and all these things, I know a million construction guys, builders. I just talked to Elroy Mast, a friend of ours. He builds pole barns and barn dominiums. But what the pain points I understand are typically project management, estimation, skilled labor. How have you in your companies and enterprises taken those on, and overcome them or challenge them or tried to solve those problems?
Well, in the early days of the utility company, I was the estimator. I was doing hand takeoffs on a set of plans with highlighters, and my kids would make fun of me. They would always say that Daddy goes to work in colors. And I think they were a little jealous that I had a job that I got to color all day. But eventually hired on another estimator who brought us to the world of on-screen takeoff, and eventually landed with a program called PlanSwift to do on-screen takeoffs. And then moving along there, started hiring guys to kind of take on that role from me, eventually elevated me to the vice president position of the company. But the biggest hurdles on the estimating side, you know, making sure the takeoff was done right. Um, every good estimator believes that they are the best estimator in the world, but I will sit down with them and show them that on every takeoff they've missed something. And that was a realization that I had to come to too, is I was going to miss something. You just tried not to miss something too big and costly. And it's, you know, you might get lucky on some projects and catch everything. But that's not normal. You're going to miss something in there or overlook it, whether it's due to being distracted or trying to get in a hurry or just tunnel vision on a project that you've looked at so many times that you think you've got something that you haven't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then historical data on the estimating side, going back and knowing what you did on the previous bids and what worked and what didn't work, and trying to keep track of that historical data to know, you know, am I competitive on this bid? And that's one of the biggest things, is trying to track that historical data and just remember where that data was and try to go pull that data back up and hope that you found the right project that had this special thing on it that you don't normally see all the time, and trying to go find that data and redo it. You know, down here in DFW, skilled labor hasn't been that difficult. We have a pretty big pool of people to pull from. I did get thin there for a while, last, you know, 5 to 7 years when things were running and gunning. It was difficult to find people, and we started to have to increase wages to keep people and bring on new people.
Do you think, in terms of the trend? So, you know, I talked to, my first guest was a contractor in the middle of Vermont, and he's like, well, we can't get people to move here, let alone a skilled labor. So his solution was, I think, H-1 visas of some sort, you know, getting guys from Guatemala, you know, all above board and stuff. But what do you, I mean, in terms of the trend, like, it's really struck me, especially as part of Rise Up Kings, like, why, I didn't realize there was so much construction going on. I didn't realize we needed to build so many buildings. I don't foresee that going down, but I do see people's desire to swing a hammer to go down, right? Like people's desire to pour the concrete. Where do you feel like that pain point is moving towards? Like, do you feel like it's going to get worse, better, and what will be the solution?
Honestly, I think it's going to get better. Thanks to guys like Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs guy, right? Pushing for skilled trades and skilled labor, and pushing harder on that. We've had a society over the last 20 years that's pushed, or 30 years that's just pushed college education, right? They put, you'll be nothing unless you get a college degree. You can only be successful if you have a college degree, and what's happened is you have this plethora of college graduates that now work at Starbucks as a barista, and have been taught that a dirty job is not a successful job. It's not, you can't be successful in it. But some of the wealthiest guys I know are certified plumbers, right? Master plumbers or master electricians that have gone out there, learned their trade, and started their own business. I've got a friend that's gone through Rise Up Kings that's an HVAC guy, and he went and got his HVAC tech license, and he's killing it. He's doing a phenomenal job, and, you know, no college education. And so I think that society as a whole is starting to recognize that the college education is not necessarily, does not equal success. Is not the path to success. I mean, I've got my 15-year-old daughter is going to take welding next year in high school. Like, what? You're welding? What are you doing that for? There is a little bit of a mind shift there with the younger kids, and especially a female wanting to go do welding. And I'm starting with the social media that's out there. You're starting to see more and more people push the successes of the trades, and as more people realize that being a ditch digger is not a bad thing, you can make a lot of money as a ditch digger. They start looking at those things and saying, like, I don't really want to be in a stuffy office all day. And so it's the trends as they happen, right? They all happen that way. And I think we're starting to see a shift. As a matter of fact, I was reading an article the other day that there's this college in some northern town that's actually shutting down because their enrollment's so far down they can't afford to stay open anymore. So enrollment is down at colleges, and I think that's going to see a shift to more people into the trades, swinging hammers and doing those jobs. So I, it's just as those things shift, the wages go up on them in order to find people to do those jobs. And as the wages go up on those jobs, they become more attractive to people who otherwise wouldn't have been looking that direction.
That's encouraging because I've talked to some, I mean, I've probably talked to 50, to 60 different commercial guys, home builders. And half of them, I was like, you know what, dude, I just want to reach through this phone and give you a hug, just trying to maintain your skilled labor and just the
Yep.
horror stories. But I hope you're right. I really do, and the business owners that are going through this stuff, I mean, it's a battle out there. Um, you've exited multiple companies. I mean, and you said it, like these HVAC and plumbers, they're all getting minted by private equity. Like what? Let's assume there's someone listening to the show that's like, man, eventually I probably do want to sell my company. Like, how do you prep for that? Like you've done it multiple times. Like, what do you do to even get ready for something like that?
I don't know that you can get ready for something like that, to be honest with you. The first company, the bigger of all the four companies, we were doing 60 million revenue, and we actually looked at selling to private equity, and because it was a company that we had a lot of heavy equipment, and we had taken full depreciation on all of that equipment. And what we realized is if we sold to private equity, we would have to pay back the depreciation that we hadn't used out of the portion of money that was coming to us off the offer. So, whatever that offer was that they were making to us, whatever money gave us, we had to take that money and go back and pay back some of the depreciation that we weren't going to recognize. And we realized once we did that, we weren't really getting that much money for the company. We were all going to have to go back to work. And so it wasn't the boon that we thought it was going to be. And so what we actually ended up doing with that company is we sold it to the employees. We sold it as an ESOP. And then we self-funded the sale. So we are the lien holders. And what that did is gave the company friendly debt, where we did interest only for several years when we started that, and then eventually started paying principal. And so I'll still get paid over the next 8 years from that company. Now, with that, so bad thing is it strips the company of all of its money. But the great thing is as we built that back up, we became attractive to private equity again. So private equity can come in and purchase the ESOP. And if they do that, everybody that has ESOP shares in that company is going to get a huge check, right? You're going to have guys in the field, probably not running a shovel anymore, but started out running a shovel that may get a $250,000 check, more money than they've ever seen. And just because private equity will come in and purchase that company. And so once we envisioned all that, we're like, that is the way to go. And so we started positioning CIP Paving to do the same thing, eventually grow it enough that we could sell it to an ESOP and it could do the same thing. That one doesn't have as much as much money in assets as a utility company, excavation utility company did. So selling to a private equity on that one wouldn't be as big of a deal. But it's finding a good fit, and then the employees get scared, man. They hear you're selling off to another company, they get uncomfortable, and so there's a piece of that says, okay, most private equity don't want the guys that have grown the company to leave. They want them to stay on for a period of time and know that they've got the right people in place. But what it does do is it's, okay, I'm going to sign on to stay for 3 to 5 years after this private equity company's bought us. And now I'm going to train the people underneath me to take over this company, and they have a path that they otherwise would not have had. And so there's a good piece in that where you say, okay, I'm exiting this company in 3 to 5 years. You need to be ready to go. And now these guys have that ladder area where they don't feel like they've capped out and don't have the ability to step into that leadership role.
I go back a little bit, Corey. You started cutting out. You said now these guys what?
Now these guys have a path to a leadership role that they otherwise may not have known that they'd have. If I were to stay with the company, VP in the company till 65, these guys eventually are like, well, I'm as far as I can go. I'm going to go start my own company, or I'm going to do that or the other. But selling to private equity and having an agreement, a management agreement, 3 to 5 years, then that gives them a path to know, okay, in 3 to 5 years, they need to be ready to move into that position. So it kind of gives them that ladder path they may not otherwise have.
Okay, so here's my thesis statement. So again, 2 months ago, I didn't even know what a takeoff was or an estimator. It was actually through Ruck. A guy from Ruck started hiring estimators for my virtual assistants in the Philippines. And I was like, what the double hockey sticks is an estimator? I had no idea. And now that I understand it, I believe firmly that you can do it with AI plus VA. In fact, I think AI, and we talked about this, can pull your most recent 10, 15, 20 estimates. And a lot of these guys swinging the hammer, running the crews, I'm like, I don't think they're going to learn these tools. So, hey, I'm going to get you a badass virtual assistant to actually use the Plane Swift and the Procore and the Builder Trend and all the things. But like, talk about technology. Do you think that this is the direction the industry is going? I know it's going to take some time to adapt, but how do you see AI and all this new tech like affecting things?
At first AI was something that I was just like, AI, it's cool, it's fun, it's neat. Um, I used to be a tech guy. I dive right into tech. I've gotten away from that as I get older. It starts to pass you up a little bit. But there's definitely, from what I've seen going on with AI and what's been happening with AI, I definitely see a path for it to be used in the industry. But I'm the guy I'm not creative enough to know exactly how that's going to happen, right? So I love guys like you that are looking at this going from a different perspective and have the ability, because I get caught up in my own world, and this is the way we do it, and these are the processes that we created, and this is how it's got to be done. And I don't understand AI, so I don't know how to implement it. So I'm not even going to look at it. I was the same way with on-screen takeoff with Plan Swift. I was doing it by hand. Hired a guy, he came in with Plan Swift, and I was like, God, I wish I'd have known about this years ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't, my mind doesn't fully comprehend the full capacity of what AI can do, right? And that's where I like guys like you that come in and say, well, I don't see any limits, whereas I'm going to sit here and try to put a limit on it and put a cap on it. I love guys like you that see no limit, and they're like, we can do anything with this if we just go put our mind to it and we look at it and we try to figure it out. And so if I can give you nuggets or give you things that allow you to take that and develop it, then I'm part of the solution without actually understanding how it all works. And so I'm sitting here going, sounds great, but I don't know what the capacity actually is. But ask me the questions you need to ask me to get the information you need from me to understand my problems, and then you go solve them and bring it back to me and say, hey, dude, I solved your problem. I'm like, wow, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, last question. So, is there anything that we haven't talked about? Something you're passionate about? I mean, I know we were both impacted deeply by Rise Up Kings. The floor is yours. Is there anything that you want to impart to the audience before we kind of sign off here?
Man, I don't know that I have anything. I just I'm in a new season of my life. I exited my businesses. I actually exited my marriage recently, so I'm on a new path in life that I'm still trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out who I am again and what my passions are. And so I'm in the middle of figuring that out, what I'm passionate about. I can tell you right now what I am passionate about is God. And that's probably the biggest thing in my life that's changed over just the last year and 2 months since I went through Rise Up Kings, is just being on fire for God. I'm 3/4 of the way through the Bible. I've never read the Bible before in my life.
Hmm.
I think everybody needs to read it. I don't understand everything in it, but you don't need to. You get I got a men's study Bible, and that's made all the difference. It's not just reading Bible passages. It breaks out little things and tells you to go back and look at stuff and points it out. And it's been eye-opening for me to be able to have that. And one of the other things that I am passionate about that I think my generation, I'm a Gen X guy, is therapy, personal therapy. I have a therapist that I visit weekly, and eventually, hopefully, it's every 2 weeks or every month. But I don't know that I'll ever stop going to a therapist fully. Um, that in my generation was always a no-no.
Hmm.
No, you don't go to therapists. That's for broken people, and I'm not a broken person, and it was looked down on. And
Hmm.
man, I can tell you what, going to therapy has absolutely changed my life. I don't know that I would have made it through the divorce, and then on top of that, the separation of the companies without having a therapist to go to. It's better than a friend to talk to because they provide you insights that other people aren't going to provide you. So, you
Hmm.
know, breaking down that stigma of therapy being only for people who don't know how to manage themselves or can't figure it out on their own. I'm telling you, you can't figure it out on your own. There's trauma in your life
Hmm.
you don't even know is affecting you today. And
Hmm.
just getting that wisdom from somebody else is it's incredible.
Hey man, I'm excited for my I'm coming to the forum here in August. So, apparently that's one of the big things, apparently, the trauma that I didn't even know was there under the surface. So I'm excited to kind of get to
Yeah.
the root of that, some of that stuff. But yeah, man, thanks so much for sharing it. It's so much more meaningful having someone on the show who does have that faith foundation. And, I called it the Builder's Bible. I'm not trying to take away from the actual Bible. I needed some alliteration, but my goal is to just help like builders solve these problems, like it's all of a sudden through Rise of Kings, freaking half of the guys I know are building something. So I know that if I
Yeah.
can solve their problems, then we'll be happy and healthy and everybody, the world will be right. So
I'll tell you the
yeah,
biggest
thanks for
problem with the guys you're talking to up north is it's too dang cold up there. Nobody wants to move up there.
I'm from Connecticut and I live in Colorado, so we don't mind a little cold. It's the
I'm from
humidity I can't
Kansas.
take.
I came to Texas
Yeah.
because I didn't like that cold. I was like, I got to get out of it. I don't mind Colorado cold. It's a different type of cold than Kansas, but
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, man.
growing up, we didn't have a lot of immigrant trades in Kansas, and that's really changed just over the last 20 years. There's a lot more people immigrating up that way, working on the farms and doing that. So as you see some of that immigration, like you've got all the immigration stuff going on right now with Trump and all that, and I'm all for a more manageable way of immigrating and having immigrants here. Um, but I'm telling you, we need those workers, and there's a side that's out there that says that these guys are paid under the table with cash, and I can tell you that in my business that's not the case.
Mm.
They come with documentation. We hire them. Taxes are pulled out, and these guys make really good money because they're willing to do a job nobody else is willing to do.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, amen. Again, yeah. And shout out to trade schools and like, look, now is the time to like. I was like, should I start an HVAC or plumbing company?
I'm
Shoot.
telling you, man. I'm
Yeah, and
telling
I
you.
have a good buddy of mine. He is he has a big electrical services company in Minnesota. He's like, we're just going to start our own plumbing thing because it's like such a demand,
Yep.
and the bar is low. It sounds like, it's not hard to just be a little bit better than the next guy. So, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is awesome having you on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Cool.